Well, let me start. I want to respect your time, so we want to get out of here at 8 o'clock. These lectures are designed to be super short and to the point. Really, an initiative that we started last month. We call it our Member for Life program. And what we mean by that is that we want to give you information that sometimes you don't get by coming in and working out with us. All you know is you've got a trainer breathing down your neck. We're pushing you hard. Your muscles are fatigued. What we want to do is give you a little more knowledge and understanding of what are the real benefits of strength training. This is a new behavior in America. And so with tonight's talk, our goal is to provide you with information that you can then come to a better understanding of the real benefits of strength training. Because we know that if people know the real value of this behavior that we call lifting weights, strength training, they'd never stop. And so if someone does stop, we believe they're just misinformed. They don't really understand the real value of resistance exercise. And so on that note, I'm going to step back and take you to 2008 real quickly. In 2008, for those of you who don't know, the federal government, the Department of Health and Human Services, they issued the first ever set of physical activity guidelines for Americans. We never had exercise guidelines in the USA before that. We had dietary guidelines dating back to the early 1980s, but we were never told by health officials, do this and do that with exercise. In those 2008 guidelines, they were a call to action, and they basically said all adults should strength train for the rest of their life. This is the opposite of what was said 30 years ago. I'm 52. When I was growing up, my dad, who's a physical therapist, didn't want his boys lifting weights because he said, that's a waste of time. Only athletes need to do that. This is not something that healthy people do. That was the mindset in the 70s. That has been turned upside down in the last 30 to 40 years. And so now we have the federal government saying, if you want to live well, if you want to avoid heart disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, obesity, dementia, Alzheimer's, if you want to avoid those diseases, this is now categorized as an essential health habit. How many of you pay attention to your diet here at some level? You try to eat reasonably well. Most of us, right? You wouldn't expect that you can live well if you said, hey, Sherry, eat whatever you want. Eat junk food every day, eat fast food, but I want to be healthy. You wouldn't expect her to be healthy if she did that. She knows that she's got to pay attention to her diet at some level. Now we're being told, if you want that same vitality, that same disease prevention, strength training is recognized as an essential health habit. So I'm making a strong case for this because most people beyond my age of 52, and a couple of you are over 52 here tonight, but they didn't grow up with that. I didn't grow up with that. So this is really new evidence, new information. And so building on that concept that this is an essential health habit, we want people to at least, whether it's here at MEDFITNESS or on their own, once they begin strength training, to never discontinue, to always be doing this behavior somewhere in some way, shape, or form. So we feel we're part of that support system in terms of helping people to live well. Now, everyone should have a handout. What we want to do tonight, our title was, who can remind us what the title was tonight? Shorter workouts, better results, right? Shorter workouts, better results. So tonight we want to look at the science and say, is it possible to go from doing 6 reps on an exercise the way we do it, which is a 10-second rep, 10 up, 10 down, slow and controlled? Is it possible to go to 4 reps or 5 reps or 3 reps and actually see meaningfully greater results? And what I'm going to tell you tonight, it is possible. And so we're going to talk about how do you train, how do you manage your exercises to actually get more out of it in either the same time. How many of you would take more benefits if the workout was the same? You say, oh, more benefits, I'll take it, right? But if we said, I can shrink the workout volume by 17%, 34%, 51%, and have you actually get better results, who would take that? Most people would line up for that. So we want to open the door to that tonight. And so there's 3 things I want to talk about, actually 4. We're going to talk about what do we have to do? What is the to do? Why do it? How do you do it? And then a couple of nutrition considerations leaving so that you have some information about what my eating should look like if I'm going to be training this way. How many of you feel like you're already training pretty hard with your workouts here at MEDFITNESS? Yeah, so really tonight we know what we call this. You are training hard, aren't you? So yeah, harder. We call this voting with your feet. By showing up and being here and spending time and listening, you actually are committed to what you're doing. I don't have to ask you if you're working hard. I know you're working hard, but I just throw that in there for the heck of it. But let's begin with the what. We're now recommending that each of our clients achieve what we call as momentary muscle fatigue. What is that? I thought I was already at fatigue, right? What is momentary muscle fatigue? This is the point where you are literally unable to complete another full repetition with good form and proper speed. So if you're lifting the weight in 10 seconds up, 10 seconds down, and you get to that hard 5th repetition, right? Super difficult, super challenging, and you say, boy, I don't think I can do 6, I better set it down. What we're inviting our clients to now do is say, try the 6th rep. If you get stuck, Sherry did this tonight, if you get stuck halfway up, then you're done. Set it down from there. So this is the moment that you're unable to complete a full repetition in proper form. We're going to build on that in just a little bit. We want to achieve that within 60 to 90 seconds. So for all those biochemists out here, we want to stay within the anaerobic energy system. So we see the research tells us that when you train at that high level of intensity, high level of fatigue within the anaerobic energy system, which is 60 to 120 seconds, 1 to 2 minutes of work, we get the best outcomes. You could achieve that high level of fatigue at 3 minutes if you wanted. Not as much training adaptation as when you do it within 1 to 2 minutes. So it requires a weight that delivers this level of fatigue within 1 to 2 minutes. And some of you have already tasted this through their training here at MEDFITNESS. So we want to get to where we can't move the weight, all right? We'll talk about why that's safe in just a second, because that scares a lot of people. We want to do it within 1 to 2 minutes on a regular basis, all right? And we also want you to know, and we tell people this when they come in and they learn about MEDFITNESS these days, this is by far the single most important variable influencing your results. When you look at all the things about lifting weights, how often, how many reps, how much weight, what range of motion, what exercises, what days, what sequence, what advanced training techniques, free weights, dumbbells, bands, body weights. When you look at all the things that you can put into a pot and stir about strength training, this is by far the single most important variable, hands down, period. I tell people, when they ask me about other training methods, they say, well, what about this training method, or what about that? Everything works as long as you work hard enough and consistently. Everything works. How many of you know people, they train somewhere else? They get good outcomes. If you work hard enough and consistently, everything works. Now, without getting too expansive, why we do what we do is because it works efficiently and safely. We know that people don't have a lot of time, right? It's not like Carmen came to me and said, Rich, do you have a workout that takes an hour and a half, 5 days a week? He didn't say that. He wanted to get physically fit, healthier, and so in less than 25 minutes, twice a week. That's super appealing to most adults in today's crazy world. So we do it the way we do it because it drives compliance up. But literally everything works if you work hard enough and if you do it consistently. So this is my life's work. I'm not willing to work out every day. I'm just not. I'm not going to do it. But if you tell me work super hard, twice a week, 20 minutes. My workout is actually under 20 minutes. 20 minutes twice a week, that I can do, and I'll do it for the rest of my life and get the benefits. So I want you to know we're going to muscle failure, muscle fatigue within 1 to 2 minutes, and it is the most important variable, bar none, period. So when you're in here and you're spending, some of you spending $100 or more a month, think about the return on your money. How can you get better dividends? Train hard, go to that point of muscle fatigue. With me so far? All right. So the what is train to momentary muscle fatigue. Why do it? Well, your muscles are made out of 2 or 3 things. Muscles are water, right? They're about 70% water by weight. The nutrient refined in the highest quantities is protein. Muscle is about 22% protein by weight. We've got a little bit of carbohydrate and fat and some other inorganic compounds, basically metals that we find in muscle tissue. So it's basically protein. That's what your muscle's made out of. And most people understand this. And so when we look at proteins in our body, one thing we know from any physiology course we've ever taken is that proteins adapt to stress. And so when you stress a protein, it changes. And it changes in a good way. It changes to prepare itself for that stressor next time it encounters it. So what we're doing here is imposing a controlled dose of stress. I'll sometimes tell it to people, this is a controlled introduction of stress to your body. We want that stress. We're literally causing a micro trauma to the muscle fiber. How many of you have heard that before? We're trying to damage your muscle fibers. When you come in for a workout, we call these little microscopic tears. If we looked at your muscle tissue under an electron microscope, we'd be able to see, oh, look at all those torn fibers there. My goodness, this is terrible. That's a good thing. This is a controlled dose of stress. When we stress our body, it adapts to stress, as long as we're not over-stressing it. So here's the example. How many of you have ever gone out, you start to do some raking in the lawn, maybe the fall is near, and you're raking leaves, and you have to rake over a couple weeks, maybe the leaves keep falling and so on. You start to get some calluses on your hand, right? You've had that experience before with different activities where there's repeated stress. The protein in your skin is called collagen, so if we keep stressing it and stressing it and stressing it, the callus is just a protective response to the stress. It's really all it is an adaptation. It's an overcompensation to a stressor. But what happens if you go out and you rake for 4 hours the first day? Then what happens? You get a what? You get a blister. You've overstressed the skin. And so now I have torn skin. I've got a super sensitive area. I lose function. I can't go out and rake because I got these darn blisters on my head. It hurts so much the next day. So what we're doing is we're introducing a small controlled dose of stress to those muscle fibers, and then letting them do what? Rest for 2 to 3 to 4 days so they can adapt, become stronger and healthier. You know, think about the guys who work with their hands every day. They've got these thick, strong hands with kind of calloused. They could go grab anything and they're not going to hurt their hands. But if you take guys like me who have these soft hands, they work inside all day long, I grab that chain, I'm going to tear my hand up because I don't have any protection. So these are good things. Our body adapts to these stresses in a positive way to protect itself. So we're literally attempting to disrupt the status quo. I want to turn your body a little bit upside down by introducing this high level of stress. All right, so how we know we're doing that is by asking you to do something you can't do. If you say, well, how do I know? What's the gauge? How hard do I work? How hard is hard? When do I stop? We have to ask you to do something that you can't do. Then we know with absolute certainty we've stressed your body. So again, go back to whatever exercise it is. Grace, you're on chest press, you're doing 5, you feel like this is murder, there's no way I can do 6, I better set it down. We're inviting you to try the 6th repetition, attempt it. If you do halfway, a third, 2/3, sometimes you'll actually finish. How many of you had that before? You'll finish the rep thinking that I can't do it. I tried it, I did it. So we're inviting you to attempt that repetition. And in not getting it, then we know, that's the line in the sand. We've achieved, quote unquote, deep muscle fatigue, muscle failure. A lot of terms are used. We're using momentary muscle fatigue. But only then do we know with absolute certainty. Studies that have compared people who train to failure versus people who train to this sort of self-described level of fatigue, guess who gets better results in terms of strength, metabolic adaptations, health improvements? Who gets better training response? People that train to that failure, or the people that say, I'm training to a high level of fatigue? No, it's the people that train to failure, actually. So that's our... Why would that be? Because we can't measure fatigue. We really can't. If I ask Sherry, how hard was that last rep on a 1 to 5 scale? 4.5. But if I ask the next person, how hard was it? That was a 3.2. Or it's too muddy, it's too gray, you can't measure it. We never know how hard you're working. But if I ask you to go until you cannot move, then it's clear the stimulus, the line has been crossed. The inroad, sometimes referred to as an inroad, has been established. So again, we're introducing a safe but very meaningful dose of stress to the target muscle. Bicep, shoulder, legs, back, etc. And so stress is good. Why? Because muscles are proteins. Proteins adapt to stress, right? Good examples throughout your whole body, all your organ systems, your immune system, everything. We're trying to disrupt the status quo. It sounds funny, but when you come in here and you have a hard workout, people sometimes say, boy, this workout is hard. When is it ever going to get easy? The answer is never. You don't want it to be easy because this workout is designed to be hard so that life is easy. If you have less chronic disease, if you have more energy, more muscular endurance, greater functional capacity, do you realize that the #1 reason why people are institutionalized in America is because of muscle loss? The number, no, I'm sorry, it's not, it's number two. The #1 is Alzheimer's. But #2 reason why people end up in a nursing home is because they cannot function on their own. Think about it. That is 100% preventable, 110% preventable. But you're going to go live in a nursing home because you can't function on your own. You're that weak, you're that dysfunctional. So these are 100% preventable problems. So we want stress because when I stress you here, life is easier. How many of you have heard me say abduction? This is the stat of a nursing home exercise, right? Everyone loves that. Nobody wants to go to a nursing home. You know, it's your lower extremity that is the most important muscle group. When you lose lower extremity function as you age, it's basically a spiral downward. Walking speed is as good of a predictor of onset of death as is metastatic cancer. Can you believe that? If you have metastatic cancer, it's cancer that's spread to other organ systems. That's basically a death march. But I can look at your walking speed and tell you how fast you walk, and at certain markers, if you're walking under 2 miles an hour, I can give you a reliable prediction of when you will die based on your walking speed. That's how strong of a predictor leg strength is for longevity and avoiding these comorbidities. So what are we saying here? Your body responds to stress. We want to stress it. It's good. It's necessary because then it can adapt and improve its function. With me? Okay, how do you do it? How do you do this? If you said, okay, Rich, you're telling me I've got to get to where I can't do that last full repetition, and I want to really go as hard as I can. I want to choose in your handout, it says choose a weight that's 70 to 80% of your one rep max. Don't worry about that. You don't have to worry about what that is. We're not doing 1 rep max testing here. It's a little dangerous. We're not worried about that. All you need to know is that if you do 6 repetitions with good form and good speed, guess what's going to happen? Your weights are going to go up. Most of you guys have experienced this, right? Now, this is not a sweeping absolute. There's circumstances, whether it's post-surgery, injury, where we know we're not raising the weight, where we know we've gotten to the weight that we want to stay at. So I'm not saying 110% of the time, but in general, and for training purposes, if you get 6 perfect reps and your speed and form is good, the weight's going to go up. That's how we get to this point of momentary muscle fatigue. We want you to not be able to do 6. That's the goal. I don't want you to do 6. I do 4 in my workout. Some people know that 3.5, 4 reps is what I tend to do in my workout. So just know that if you're getting 6 good ones, there's going to continue slow, gradual progression towards heavier loads so that that last rep is murder and or that you can't complete it. Some of you guys are there, right? Some of you guys are there. You can't do 6. You're toast on 4.5. You're toast on 5.5, whatever it is. So some of you are already there. Now, an important issue here is the whole issue of safety. And people don't do this because they're afraid of it. They feel like heavier weights are dangerous. High level of fatigue is dangerous. And so let me tell you why training to failure is safer than not training to failure. Something that people don't realize is that when you begin an exercise, you're the strongest at the very beginning, right? You have 100% of your strength reserve before you start. You sit down, chest press, okay. If you can lift 140 pounds, you've got 100% of that capacity right now. As your set progresses and both type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers are fatigued, your capacity to generate force goes down, right? In other words, you get weaker, you're fatiguing, your strength is going down and down. If I took Carmen, if I put 200 pounds and he did 4 reps on chest press, we fatigued him, we said, all right, Carmen, I know your max is 240, let's try it now. He wouldn't be able to do it because we've already fatigued those fast and slow twitch muscle fibers. So as the set progresses, fatigue goes up, strength goes down. Does that make sense? You're weaker as the set progresses. Your ability to generate force goes down as you fatigue. So in fact, your ability to injure yourself goes down as the set progresses. So why is it that people get hurt on the last 1 to 2 reps? Can anyone tell me why? No, it comes back to their form. It comes back to their form. You walk through any fitness center anywhere in America and you watch people fatigue, what do? They start to get fast, they start to get sloppy, they start to squirm, they start to shift, they do all kinds of crazy things to finish the rep. The real goal, Gary, is fatigue. It's not to do 6 reps. That's not the real goal. The real goal is to safely arrive at fatigue to stimulate the muscle to improve, right? That's the real goal. I don't care. A lot of you have heard me say lately, I don't care about 6 reps. It's not about 6. Go to fatigue as safe as possible. And so if Diane is at 4 and she feels like she can't do 6, who cares? That's not the goal. Keep training until you can't move the weight with perfect form. There's no prize for 6. You're not healthier at 6 than you are at 5. There's no bigger muscles at 6 than there is at 5. It's about that high level of fatigue where you can't finish the repetition. And so the last 2 reps of the set literally are safer than the first 2 as long as your form is perfect. Boy, Sherry had a great workout tonight. She is the perfect example of perfect form. She's working super hard. The first rep is identical to the last rep. That's how it should be. No speed change, no biomechanics change, no turnaround change, no range of motion change. She just arrives safely at fatigue. She knows when she's there. I tell her to shut it down. You're done. So versus starting to do this to get that last repetition, twisting your neck backwards, all these crazy things that open the door to injury. So I know this is a paradigm shift for you tonight. The last half of the set is safer than the first half. The burn that you feel is not a marker of risk of injury. It just is a good feeling, right? That's a joke. It's right.
Is that level of fatigue?
Yeah.
Then is your workout not being beneficial?
If you don't reach it, Carmel, is that what you said? Yeah, great question. She wants to know if you don't reach that high level of fatigue, is the workout beneficial? The answer is no, it is still beneficial. All we're saying is that if you grade the value of the activity, it goes up with higher levels of fatigue. So you can still come in, go through a moderate workout, get moderate benefits. So there are still benefits, yes. So we're not suggesting that this is the only way to get better, but it is the way to get the best. And so I know we're being conservative for medical reasons. That's understandable. We have to work within that scope. So I'm saying this to a healthy population, but there's always a medical condition, a musculoskeletal issue, post-surgery, whatever it is, rehab issues where we are more conservative and we don't train to that high level of fatigue. So that's a good question, Carmel. But generally speaking, we're stretching you as far as you are capable of going. I always tell people, you don't have to lift the weights I lift to get the benefits I get. You just have to lift the weights that are hard for you. It's super individual, but you have to stretch yourself. No matter who you are, you have to stretch yourself. True of all areas of life, right? As much as it is in physical training. So the end of the set isn't dangerous. That's a myth. It's dangerous if you get fast and sloppy. Here you want to be open to your trainer who's coaching you to stay safe and effective on those last few reps, right? It's tempting to go fast, isn't it? You want to get it done. I want to check off. I got 6. Good. I want to do the rep. I don't want to fail at 5. Being a slow failure here is actually a good thing, so we want you to fail. Yeah.
If you're working out and you haven't hit that momentary
Muscle fatigue, right, right.
6,
Yes.
should we go on and do 7?
You can do, it's a great question, Kathy. We would generally invite you to do a 7th rep because that'll further stimulate those muscle fibers, further fatigue them. And usually if you get into a 7th rep, then that's a gauge for us. Let's go up a little bit. So let's go up a little bit. But literally the workout, I know it's simple, but it's so true. The workout here, the only way you get a return on spending time at MedFitness is to have hard work. If you work hard here, then you walk out of here, life is better. You live longer, you have less chronic disease. Do you realize that muscle mass index is possibly the leading marker of longevity in America? If you look at longevity, who lives long? What's the average lifespan in America? It's about 78 years. If you want to live past 78, you should increase your muscle mass index. We have 3 big observational studies tracking people over decades showing the people with the highest muscle mass index live the longest. But we're obsessed in America with body mass index, which doesn't factor in muscle. There's indirect ways, there's indirect methods. I can talk to you more about that, Petra, but there's indirect ways to predict muscle mass index. But the only way to build it is lift weights. So you're doing it. You're absolutely doing it. So, yeah. So you with me here? What do we want to do? Reach momentary muscle fatigue. Why? Because our muscles are made out of protein. Proteins adapt to stress when we stress them. It's a basic physiological fact. And how do I do it? have a weight heavy enough that doesn't allow me to complete 6 repetitions. This is individual preference, Diane. I just like how I feel at 4. So I like to be done at 4. I don't want to do 5 or 6 reps. Some people like to do 6. If you like how it feels to do 6, you could do 6. It's okay. Just make sure that you're failing on the 6th rep, not just doing it and saying, oh, that was hard. So the only line in the sand is that muscle failure, that momentary muscle fatigue. So, okay. What do we need to know about nutrition? Well, we said your muscles are made out of what? Mainly protein, yeah. Now, if you look at the average American, we're getting enough protein typically. If you look at athletes, they're getting enough protein. Where we see people that aren't getting enough protein often is people who are trying to be cognizant of their diet because they're trying to either not gain weight or trying to lose a few pounds, and we're sort of paying attention to calories and other foods. So we're keeping energy down. When energy goes down, protein needs go up. When you train hard like this, it also increases your need for protein. So we don't want to use the RDA as a benchmark for how much protein we need. The RDA in America, which is a fine reference, is set for sedentary individuals. No one in this room is sedentary. If you're going to go home and sit on the couch 7 days a night, then the RDA is fine. But if you say, I want more muscle because I want healthier bones, I want more muscle because I want my metabolic rate higher, I want more muscle because I want to cut my risk of heart disease, I want more muscle to reduce my blood pressure. If you want more muscle for all those health benefits, then you need to raise your protein a little bit. It's not crazy, but it does go up. Your handout talks a little bit about 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. It just shows you how to calculate that. For those of you who have questions, feel free to ask me how to convert that into something that is relevant to you. But your need for protein does go up when you're training hard consistently. The last point is that we look at a number of studies that have measured protein intake after an intense workout like we're doing here. The training response is enhanced when I have protein immediately following, not 2 hours later when I get home and have dinner. It's okay to eat dinner 2 hours later, but when you have protein immediately following the strength workout, the stimulus and the response is greater. So if you said, I'm spending money at MEDFITNESS, I now know I need to train to momentary muscle failure as much as I can. What else can I do? A simple strategy. Get in at least 10 grams of high quality protein, 10 to 15 grams right after the strength workout. We've damaged your muscles. They're looking for building blocks to reassemble themselves, right? And so if you give yourself some protein right after the workout, your body can begin to use those amino acids to restore and replace those broken contractile proteins. So it's a simple way to enhance the value of the strength workout. I like to use our nutrition bars, but one thing to know is that your body can't differentiate between foods or dietary supplements. Protein is protein, whether you get it from a supplement or a food. It's the same. So whatever works for you, that's the go-to. But some protein right following the strength workout. So, all right?
If you did it food-wise, what would that be? Would that be a hamburger patty?
Yeah, to give you an example, Libby, yes, like a hamburger patty is going to be about 7 grams of protein per ounce. So if I had a small patty of 2 to 3 ounces, that's 14 to 21 grams. That's more than enough, yeah. It doesn't take a lot. For those of you who can tolerate milk, if you drink it, 1 glass, 8-ounce glass of milk is about 8 or 9 grams of high-quality protein. A small yogurt can be 10 to 20 grams of protein. So yeah, it doesn't take a lot. A lot of foods can serve the needs here to get that protein right after the strength workout. I know some of you bring stuff with you, whether it's a bar or a drink or something, and you eat it in the car, which is great, yeah. But don't wait an hour and a half to 2 hours. Take advantage of the fact that we just beat the tar out of your muscles. They're looking for nutrients. Please give them some nutrients to adapt to that training stimulus. So, okay? All right, fantastic. Any questions on what I've said so far? Other than the good news that the weights are all going up, right? Okay. All right. Okay.
But the time's going down, right?
That's right. Exactly. Time's going down, Mike. That's good. That's a good way to look at it because listen, a couple of years ago I started timing myself and my work as I said, I want this to be done as fast as possible. And think about it. I've been lifting weights since I was 9 years old. So this is my life's work. I've got better things to do with my life. I don't want to pump iron all day long. So I want this to be as short as possible. How quickly can I get this done? I think I got down to about 13 minutes for my full body workout if I go to machine to machine without resting. But you're right, a reduction in volume, an increase in returns. There's no doubt about it. So it's about value. Yeah.
Does that reduce stress too then?
Oh, the exercise here?
Does exercise
Without a doubt, Carmel. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. We're in,
How can it reduce stress?
yeah, well, the workout is not a reduction in stress. The workout is stress. Remember, it's like an experiment. We're controlling the stress. Here's a dose of stress, Carmen. I want you to ingest that pill. It's going to stress your body. If he,
Thinking of when you're stressed,
Yeah.
you're releasing cortisol.
yeah,
which is big stress.
yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, here's what's happening without getting too expansive. Your muscles function as exocrine glands. We didn't know this years ago. We thought that muscles were pretty neutral. When your muscles contract, they release proteins called myokines into the blood. These myokines basically are anti-inflammatory, healthy compounds that squelch oxidative stress in the vascular system. And so one of the reasons why we see people with less heart disease who lift weights is because of the positive effect these myokines release. But to do that, you have to have forceful muscle contraction. And so yes, this workout is stress. Don't confuse that. It is a dose of stress. But how many of you know this? If you know anything about physiology, there's compensatory adaptations to stressors in your body. So if you are stressed, your body responds in all these positive ways to be healthier and stronger. So the stressor here stimulates osteoblasts in your bones. Your bones are healthier. Stimulates these oxidative molecules to be released in the blood. It releases a cascade of effects. So there's a number of channels downstream that make you healthier and stronger because of this stress. So stress in and of itself isn't bad. It's a controlled stress when bundled with enough rest, right? You can't come back and do it tomorrow. Why we say several days of not training your muscles with proper nutrition. You got to sleep, you got to rest, you got to eat reasonably well. Then you get all these benefits. But yeah, the workout is stress. There's no doubt about it. But it's a safe dose of stress. We're not getting crazy or doing anything over the top. So the net effect is that it's good for your body, Karma. But yes, good question. Okay, I don't want to leave you or take any more of your time than I need to tonight. I do appreciate you coming. Our next lecture is about a month from now. We're talking about the metabolic benefits of strength training and why. There's 5 ways that muscle helps you to lose weight and keep it off that no other form of exercise does. We're going to do that, I think, the 16th of December. So you'll see signs up in the studio. You're welcome to attend that and, again, save money on your membership dues. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Thank you for being here. I'm here if you have questions. Just make sure you sign that sheet to get your credit. Otherwise, have a great night, everyone. Thank you for being here.